Hey, thanks for joining me today. I wonder on this side of the camera, how many people join me in the morning, with a cup of coffee, which by the way is when I watch these each day. But I know others catch it later, either on a break or maybe in the evening. But whenever you're seeing this, hey, thanks for wanting to take what we talk about in our messages one more step forward to making this a practical application to your faith as we all look to live on mission. And in this series on the Lord's Prayer for all of us, as we've looked at the different parts of what Jesus was showing his followers in the first century, who asked him to teach them how to pray, and what he's telling his followers in the 21st century, is that our prayer life needs to include certain aspects. And this week, we're looking at guidance and forgiveness. So today we're looking at that phrase, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. When I pray, and lead us not into temptation, what that means is when I pray, I need to ask for God's guidance every day. God's guidance is what I'm asking him for. This part of Jesus' prayer emphasizes one of our beliefs here at MCC, that God is a personal God, that he's with us every day. A few weeks ago, I shared from Psalm 37. I love this passage. The Lord directs the steps of the godly. He delights in every detail of their lives. Though they stumble, they will never fall, for the Lord holds them by the hand. And I love this image of God. And here's the thing. If God is directing my steps, if I'm asking for God to guide me, I won't wander into areas that I shouldn't. Now that doesn't mean that I won't be tempted, but it does mean that God won't lead me there. As a matter of fact, toward the end of the New Testament is a book by Jesus' brother, whose name is James. And he says in James chapter 1, beginning in verse 13, when tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. I just want to remind you, God doesn't tempt people. He loves you. He wants what's best for you. I will remind you, though, that you do have an enemy that loves tempting you because he hates you and he wants to destroy you. And I've told you this before. Man, I wish I could get everyone to believe this. But God doesn't hate you and the devil doesn't love you. And we need to make sure we get this. Temptation itself is not a sin. And this, listen, we're not tempted because we're evil. We're tempted because we're human. Some people think that when we commit to following Jesus, that means that temptation is over. But quite the opposite is true. We know we have a target on our back. Paul wrote to the church in Ephesus in Ephesians chapter 6. He says, put on all of God's armor so that you will be able to stand firm against the strategies of the devil. Sounds like we live in a war zone, doesn't it? Do you know why it sounds like that? Because we do. And imagine how valuable your soul must be if God and Satan are both waging war for it. Jesus is showing us to pray for guidance on a day-to-day basis. And if you haven't already, I hope you will right now. Look at your calendar for today and walk through it with God, asking for his guidance for this day. And do that every day.